Wolverine! AppStateCentral.com weekly podcast.
All right, and good evening, and welcome to the sixth installment of the AppStateCentral.com weekly podcast. As always, a big thank you to the Marching Mountaineers and the Appalachian Sports Network for providing those sound clips you just heard in the intro. This is Bryden, and along with me is my co-host, Mike. First, I want to go ahead and apologize for the delay in the podcast. Mike had unexpected travel for business, so that's why we couldn't do it on Tuesday. But starting next week, it'll be back at a regular time, Tuesdays at 7:30. We just had to make a special move for this week. So thank you for waiting, and we apologize for that. As we all know, the Mountaineers are on the heels of a very, very disappointing home defeat to the Citadel in what was the Southern Conference opener for us. And now we face pretty much a must-win game as we prepare to take a trip to Chattanooga to face against the Mocs on Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Tonight we're going to go ahead and talk about that horrible loss against the Citadel and look forward to the upcoming game and changes we might see from the Mountaineers going forward, and especially against Chattanooga. First, Mike, though, let's go ahead and give our listeners another reminder about how to contact us via the social media.
Yeah, as always, if you want to interact with us during the show, you can send us a tweet at AppStateCentral or post on our Facebook wall at facebook.com/AppStateCentral. We always like to hear from anyone who visits the site or listens to the podcast. So if you're catching the show live, please, give us a tweet if there's something you like to talk about, or even if you're listening to it after the fact, definitely, contact us either on the website or by social media and let us know what you think.
Yeah, definitely. I'm on Twitter right now as I'm speaking. I'm logging in. So if you send us a tweet or something on Facebook, we might get a shout out on the air for you. So Mike, as we alluded to in the intro, and as surely all of our listeners know, the Citadel beat us pretty handily last weekend. It really wasn't even close. And unfortunately, a loss like that cannot fall on one player, a coach, it's any single unit of the team. But what do you think the biggest deficiencies were that led to such a lopsided outcome?
Well, it's you almost don't know where to start when you're talking about a game like last Saturday. As we all know, the final ended up being 52-28. But anybody who was at that game knows that that final score, even though it was lopsided, was not indicative of how badly we truly got beaten that game. It's something where you got the feeling watching the game that if Citadel didn't call the dogs off in the second half and have their starters on the bench about halfway through the third quarter, they could have scored 60 plus easily if they wanted to. They ran all over us. They had 463 rushing yards, 618 yards of total offense, and they only ran 69 plays. So that's the most amazing statistic to me, I think, about that ball game was the fact that how much they were able to gain on so few plays. They had an average of 9 yards per play on that game, and when you're facing a triple option team who ideally would like to just beat you by eating the clock up and getting 4 or 5 yard chunks at a time, that's pretty staggering. Because it just we were very unprepared for our first taste of option football this year, and we did have some guys that we're seeing their getting their first look at a triple option offense at the collegiate level, but at the same time, we had 7 guys that started that, whether they started or came off the bench, at least saw playing time against the Citadel last year. Obviously, Jeremy Kimbrough, Brandon Greer, Ronald Blair, Deuce Robinson, Joel Ross, Demetrius McCray. All those guys have seen that before, and it was granted some of them are starters now, some of them have kind of changed positions, but still very, very disappointing effort. It was something where you saw from the opening snap they marched right down and got 7 points on the board, and it was there was guys biting on fakes and being out of position all afternoon, really, and the Citadel really exposed that lack of discipline, and they really took it to us. They hit us in the mouth on the first drive, and we really never responded and got back into the game after that. Defensively, they got up so much early. They were able to play their safeties deep and eliminate the long pass, just give us the underneath stuff. And for that reason, Jamal Jackson threw 32 passes. He completed 23 of them, but he only got 164 yards for just over 5 yards of completion, which is well under his season average. It's the first time in 10 career starts he had less than 200 passing yards and accounted for less than 250 yards of offense. It was, and special teams as well, just when, it looked like there might be any kind of chance that we would get back into the game early. They blocked a field goal and extended the lead there in the second quarter, and it was, the route was on from there, if it wasn't already. So it was really just kind of an all around pretty disappointing performance.
Yeah, it really was. It was disappointing, I think, is an understatement. When they came down and rushed down for their first touchdown, I looked over to my wife and the people sitting around me, and I said, "Uh-oh, we're in trouble. It shouldn't have been as easy as it was." And then I believe they held us to a 3-and-out in the very next drive. If it wasn't a 3-and-out, it was definitely we didn't get very far down the field, and then I really knew we were in trouble if they were to score on that possession, and they did. The Ben Dupree, the quarterback, it was a 3rd and 9, and we had him running to the outside looking for a pass, had no open receivers, and he somehow got around the corner and made his way back to the other side of the field and ran for 57 yards for a touchdown to make it 14-0. When we should have had him stopped to make it 7-0, had a chance to get the ball and potentially tie the game. And in my opinion, that was a turning point in the game. Other than maybe the block punt, but the block punt at that point the game was already over, in my opinion. So I can't really call that a turning point. But the Ben Dupree touchdown for 14-0, make it 14-0, was what I thought that turned the game around, gave them all the momentum, and we were just playing out flat and didn't know what to do against their offense.
Yeah, I agree, and you touched on that. The first drive where we'd already let them go up 7-0, and then we just kind of gave the ball right back to them. What, to me, watching the game, what was even more frustrating than the fact that that we gave the ball right back to him, let him go up 14-0, was before that. We had great field position. Right. we gave them a touchdown, but then Tony Washington returned the next kickoff 51 yards, and we started off right around midfield. We had great field position, and then weren't even able to get a first down and gave the ball right back to them, and they really marched right down our throats. And it seemed like before my seat had even gotten warm, we were down 14-0, and then they tacked on a third touchdown less than a minute into the second quarter. So we were down 21-0. Basically one quarter into the game, and then it was. And I knew we were in for a long afternoon when I realized how happy I was. They only got a field goal in the next possession to go up 24-0, and then we got the ball. We were pinned right back in our back on our side of the field, and then at 24-0, it was. They'd already started to take us to us. They had all the momentum at that point, but 24 points is at least, that's doable. And then the special teams, had a lapse that, somewhat reminded me of, the plays where we looked a little flustered going against ECU on special teams as well. They blocked it. They ran it in for an end zone, and they ran into the end zone for a touchdown. And when they took a 31-0 lead into the second quarter, I've never seen a team come in and take it to us like that at home. It was really unexpected, and obviously anytime you get beat like that, you've got to give the opponent a lot of credit. The Citadel came out. They, a lot of teams do come into Kid Brewer Stadium, and they know the kind of gaudy record we have there. They know that we have very talented players. We get some of the better talent at the FCS level, and they were going to have a big crowd there, and a lot of teams come in intimidated by that, and the Citadel did not. They came in. I think they fed off our crowd's energy more than our team did, and they came out and just sucked the air out of the stadium early. They took us out of our game. They were not scared. They knew they almost got us last year, and they came in and really took it to us. And it all started offensively because they, once they were to come out and score so early, give a team a 21-point cushion early, and it's really hard to come back against a triple option team because they are going to run the clock out. They are they are typically going to control the time of possession. They did that, and they knew that we needed big chunks of yards as early as the second quarter to really get back into it. And so they played their safeties deep. They took away the deep ball. Obviously, not having Sean Price hurt us as well. but they took away the deep ball. We kind of dinked and dunked all afternoon with the short underneath routes, and that just wasn't going to get the job done. And you have to give the Citadel credit. Hats off to them. They're a very good football team. Obviously, the win over Georgia Southern was no fluke. They're in the top 10 this week, and they deserve it. They played great. They came out and just they were the more prepared team. They were the aggressor. They really they took it to us at our own house, and there's not a whole lot else you could really say about it. It was a historic day for all the wrong reasons for us. It was the first time the Citadel had gotten a win in Boone since 1992. First time that Appalachian had lost their Southern Conference opener played at home since 1982, and the first time an opposing team has scored more than 50 in Boone since 1978 when Furman did it. So it was it was a lot of firsts, and not the kind of first we were hoping for. And coming off an emotional win where they looked as strong as they did in the second half against Montana, it was just very disappointing to see them come out as flat as they were. And but like I said, got to give the Bulldogs credit. They hit us in the mouth, and we never recovered.
Yeah, definitely. It wasn't the way that any of the us Mountaineer fans wanted to spend the 50th anniversary of Kid Brewer Stadium. That's for sure. It was not a good celebration. And you touched on the time of possession. They absolutely dominated the first half. It was in the first quarter alone, they were just over 10 minutes, and we were just under 5 minutes. And the first quarter was basically what gave the spin on the rest of the game. It was against a triple option team that scored, like you said, basically 21 points in essentially one quarter. You can't give that up to any team, let alone a triple option team. So it was definitely it was lopsided in that fashion. The total time of possession was Citadel had a little over 38 minutes, while we had a little under 22 minutes, and a lot of that was in the third and fourth quarter when we were not scoring with ease by any means, but our offense was looking a lot better, a lot faster, because we had to speed it up to try to score to catch the Bulldogs. So our time of possession was even less in the third and fourth quarter, but it still wasn't. The time of possession in general was just the ultimate deciding factor, other than the Bulldogs just completely running us over.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. To be quite honest, I don't remember the last time I've seen an Appalachian game where it seemed like we didn't even play offense. It seemed like every time you looked up, the Citadel was driving again. And one pretty incredible statistic as it relates to time of possession is that the quarter that we possessed the ball the most was the second quarter, and it was 8:57 to 6:03. That's incredible. They had the ball for 3 minutes longer than us in the quarter that we possessed the ball the most. It was almost 2-to-1 time to possession, and you're never gonna win a ball game when you can't get your defense off the field. And it seemed like throughout the game there were so many back-breaking third downs that they got, and they didn't just get the third down; they got big plays on third down. They passed for 155 yards, and they only threw the ball 6 times. It's incredible, 26 yards per attempt through the air. We knew going into the game that they weren't going to throw a ball a lot, but when they did, they were going to go deep, and unfortunately, that turned out to be very, very true. Almost 39 yards per completion, 26 yards per attempt. They really had their way with us defensively, and it was I've always thought that there's a couple of times when youth on a defense can really come through, that you'll really see the signs of a young team. One is when they're trying to follow up on a big